because you do a lot of ventilation, all different kinds. Earlier, we're talking about how some customers will contact you and say, I can't find anyone to help me with ventilation. It's just people are not doing it in your market, which is very common around the country. I'm just wondering if you install something, whether it's a fresh air vent, ventilating dehumidifier, air exchanger, whatever it is, are you ever asked to do a post-install test to verify the effectiveness of the equipment? Do you get those requests from customers?
Oh
Have you
yeah.
run those tests?
hmm
And what are your thoughts on outcome-focused work, which is what you would be doing there versus just following standards?
I prefer outcome focused work, making sure what you did actually does what you're saying it's going to do instead of just slapping something in. Hey, oh, you think it's going to work, but hey, we're actually going to come back, test, measure it a later date. So I like doing it that way a lot better. And I think
Have you
it's,
ever done one of those tests and had to make adjustments?
yeah, I've had to increase ventilation a little bit. Sometimes you might be trying to throttle the correct amount of fresh air. We might have to see how it goes, increase a little bit more, or make adjustments as necessary. That will usually include in the consultation visits or scope of work. Hey, after we get everything installed, we might have to come back for one last retest and adjustment. A lot of people love it. They're like, these guys are actually going to come back and take care of it and make sure everything's okay.
Do you use the word commissioning when you're doing that?
Yeah, a lot of times I do.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing
Yeah, you're
to a degree
commissioning to
that's
make sure it
unheard
works
of. And
properly. Yep.
it's all based on CFM, not
Yep.
outcome. And you can overdo it. More likely, I think from our experience with our data is you can underdo it
Yep.
and not get the outcome. So being able to test after an install, especially if you're doing equipment that's over $5,000, I think being able to say, hey, we're going to come back here and make sure this is dialed in,
hmm
that is excellent. That's exactly what we want to see out there.
hmm
It's just huge for a customer. And I feel like that should be the standard in the industry. That's what I would want to buy.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And we come across a decent amount of stuff too that just doesn't work.
you know who hates air exchangers?
Oh,
The testing and balancing guys.
yeah.
The testing and balancing guys, get them started on a little rant of air exchangers, and they're the ones that hate them because they are so commonly poorly installed. And
hmm
if you're not testing, if you're just plugging it in and it's making a noise, I can see how those mistakes would be made.
hmm
It it makes sense. But yeah, some of those guys absolutely hate air exchangers because they've seen how poorly they perform.
Oh yeah. And then when you're doing stuff residentially too, and you start getting into tight spaces and flex ducting and a whole bunch of obstacles that can make it tough. You got to be really, thoughtful on how you're going to lay the system out, get the performance out of it, etc. I was over at a homeowner's house the other day doing some consulting work, and house was built 3 years ago. Just single stage equipment, single stage furnace, single stage AC, and they just had a fresh air duct with a just 24-volt damper that just opened up, bringing fresh air into the system. When the heater, the air is on, we're moving a more substantial amount of airflow, so there's more pull on the fresh air duct. When single stage equipment goes off, then they run the constant fan motor. The constant fan speed is very low, and on this furnace, it's not adjustable. So consequently, and when they're running continuous fan, it's no longer pulling as much airflow through the fresh air duct because we're not moving that much air anymore. And now the fresh air totally drops off. And we're just trying to appease code primarily. But it gets into testing and verifying, what's going to happen during all phases of equipment operation.